Good Sunday morning to each and every one of you. Sunday morning coffee on Past the Wire TV, Shore Bet Coffee, AmWager. I'm Big Race Jim, back after a couple weeks on the road. Went back up to Saratoga, and I was the only one on Thursday at the 4th of July Racing Festival at Saratoga. I'm being a little facetious, but it felt like I was the only one there. Place was as empty as I've ever seen it, um, and we can talk about why that might be. But um, yesterday, the first traditional Saturday of opening weekend, uh, I saw some jokes flying around on Twitter over the weekend that this was the third opening day at Saratoga in the last month, and it's true, right? You had the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival that started on a Wednesday. You had the Fourth of July Racing Festival that started on a Thursday, and then you had the traditional meet, which opened up this past Thursday. But some turf racing that I want to dive into from Saratoga yesterday, the Bowling Green and Farbridge, and the Diana, where She Feels Pretty got beat by none other than Chad Brown, who's now won, I don't know, however many Dianas in a row, 9 in a row, maybe. That guy's just absolutely loaded. But I'm excited to look at that replay. I thought that was a fun a fun race. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen and we can watch this replay together. This is the this is the this is the Bowling Green, and
they're off.
of course they got to go around here
And Tucson is
one and a
hustled out
half
for the
times.
early lead. Farbridge
But meant to change the volume. I'm
and they're
sorry.
off in the Bowling Green. And
So
Tucson is hustled out for
for
the early lead.
another
Farbridge
four
makes
horse
way in
stake
second.
race at
Harrow is
at
third in the early
Saratoga,
going.
unfortunately, it feels like
Illustrated just sticks ever so
we've
slightly,
gotten used to
and that
this
makes it a
over the last
single
couple of years.
file race. Moving around the
Um,
far
and
turn, we
the field
Skydance
gets
putting the pedal to
super
the metal on
strung out
Tucson.
here,
And
which
so Tucson
is
will
usually to
open
be
up into the
expected in
stretch
these
for the
really
first
long
time.
turf
Joel Rosario
races.
has Farbridge a clear-cut
When
second.
you have
Then it's another 3.
the
Back to Harrow in third.
really
El
anything
Green is
that's
10 lengths
a
off
mile
the
and
pace. He is being
3/16,
split
mile and a
by his
quarter,
stablemate Tucson.
mile and
Tucson left
3/8, mile and a
flank,
half
tops in front by
on the
5. 2 laps
grass.
to travel.
There's usually
Farbridge
one
patiently
horse
handling,
that
while El
goes
Green
out on the
and
early lead
Harrow
and tries
a
to set the
dozen lengths
pace
off the
here.
pace. 2 more to
Um,
Alazine. 24 and 2
Not
for
going
Tucson.
terribly
Tucson
fast here
unchallenged.
early,
Still in
but
front by 5
Farbridge just really
lengths.
towers over
Farbridge just gliding along
this
and
entire
sat very
field.
comfortable.
And I
Another
forget which
3
race it
back
was
to
last
Harrow in
summer
third.
where
And
Farbridge
Alazine
really
is in
kind of
second.
had
They're
his
in no
coming out
change in the
party,
running order.
where
It's
he stole
Tucson
that big
trying to take
stakes
them
race
all
on
the
the
way.
lead,
The lead is down
or
to
not on the lead. I'm
5.
sorry.
And 6
Um,
furlongs went in 1:14 and 4.
Coming up from
Farbridge
the
waiting along
rear,
though.
he was able to
And
steal that
Farbridge
graded
poised
stakes. I
to
forget which one
pounce
it
on
was, but
Tucson. He's won
that
some,
was really
won
this horse's coming
Sprint.
out party, and
Still 4 lengths back to
he's been
Harrow in
tough as
third.
nails
El
ever since.
Green
What I thought was
is called
interesting
upon at
here,
the back.
and
Tucson trying to battle
Rosario
with
gets a lot of
Farbridge.
flack lately,
Farbridge has the upper
but
hand.
I
And
thought
Rosario has
they were
pushed the
moving
button.
kind of slow. The pace
Farbridge
was getting
starts to
slower and
sprint for
slower.
home.
Tucson was
Opening up
getting
3
slower and
on
slower.
Tucson
And
second.
Farbridge really made his
Harrow is
move
running a good
halfway down
race.
that
He's
backstretch.
starting to inch up on
And
the outside. El
it's
Razine widest
interesting
of all.
because
They're coming to the
obviously
furlong
you're
mark.
on the
Farbridge
inner
in
turf,
complete
so
control.
you don't,
In the center, El
when you're
Razine
halfway down the
motors
backstretch,
into
you don't
second.
really have that much
Farbridge
time
by
left
6
for
lengths as
the
they come
wire.
toward the wire. It's
So I
all
thought that was a really
Farbridge.
smart
El
time
Razine
to
with a
make that
valiant
move.
effort, but will only
And
come
when you
within
have the
about
best
3.5
horse,
lengths
you can
of the
kind of get
dominant
away with a little bit more. But
Farbridge. Wins the Bowling
I
Green
thought that
for
was
the run.
I thought that was the right spot to make that move for Rosario and Farbridge, and he just kind of drew off, and nobody else really even contended with him whatsoever. So I thought that was a nice ride, nice horse, picks up another Grade 2 win. But you have a 4 horse turf race, and I don't not really much not really much else we can yeah, we can say um about that. Let me just kill this volume here. So congrats to Farbridge. There you go. The other one was the Diana, always the first Grade 1 of the meet, and um, another, really super short field, um, which is, I mean, there's a million reasons why that is, and maybe we could talk a little bit about that coming up in a little while. But I thought this race was exciting. Right, She Feels Pretty. He's been beating everybody, winning everything under the sun, and looked to have this race won. Um, but we got ourselves a classic horse race on the grass at Saratoga, and it made things a little interesting towards the end. Let's see if we could share this again.
They're in the gate. And they're off in the Duncan Diana. And Choicia is going straight to the front.
So Choicia had to
Excellent
figure was
Truth
going to
is in
go
close. And
go
she
up.
feels pretty, just a length and a
Um,
half off.
Excellent Truth,
Taking a
the
stronghold of in third.
eventful winner
And it's
here.
dynamic
Uh,
pricing already 6
I thought took
lengths
up pretty good
behind. Fresh
positioning
running
here.
Lady Claypool lags well
And as
behind.
far as New
Then
York turf
Vince
racing goes, they're actually
Deliver.
moving
And it's
pretty
Luis
quick,
Saez and Patricia leading the way by a length and a half,
assuming that these
second
times
and
were
10th by
correct.
Excellent Truth. The
That
opening
opening
quarter in
quarter
turn
is
3,
about as fast as you'll ever
NYRA.
see
She
a
feels
turf
pretty.
race in New
It's
York.
the dream
And
spot
then
in
he
third.
tried to
Has
slow it
3
down
lengths to
here,
make up. She's 4 in front
um,
of dynamic
a little
pricing,
bit.
and Lady
Uh,
Claypool
and I
remains
thought
well
Excellent
back.
Truth had some really nice
Down the
positioning,
backstretch in
and
the
She Feels
Duncan
Pretty
Diana.
had
And it's Choicia left
uh,
alone on the front
the
end.
perfect
A
spot that
2-length
that
cushion
she
on
wants
Excellent Truth
here.
in second.
And
John Velasquez and She Feels Pretty third. 3.5 off the
you
pace.
could see kind of
Getting a
come
little bit
out a little
closer
bit
now. Dynamic
right
pricing
here
in
just
fourth.
to
48 and 2 for
give
the
her
high.
a a
Lady
little bit of a
Claypool
clear
at the
run.
back of the field. Choicia takes them
But
into the
you
front
see
turn
Excellent
over
Truth
Excellent Truth. They've been
start to
1-2
make that move
every step
here.
of the way.
She Feels Pretty
She feels pretty.
starts to get
Is 3
underway,
lengths off them. Gets a little nudge coming in
and
after the top pair.
just the
Dynamic
explosion
pricing.
of She
Still with
Feels
a lot of
Pretty,
work
like
to do as they
just
come
as
to the
soon as she just
quarterpole.
starts
She
to get
feels pretty.
asked,
Makes
she
a
just
3 wide bid
kicks
on the
into high
outside. Up
gear.
Choicia who's
And
hanging
right
tough.
here, like you
In
just
between
thought
those
that
two, Excellent
she was
Truth.
going to go right
She
on by,
feels
and that was going
pretty.
to be it.
Surges
But
past with a furlong left to
Excellent
go.
Truth
Excellent
just
Truth will make her work for it. These two
found
are
some
head to head.
guts,
She Feels Pretty or
and
Excellent Truth. Excellent Truth. She
just
Feels Pretty.
found a way
Goes
to
and nose for the
run
wire.
down to the
It
wire here,
is the line.
and
Excellent Truth
get
defeats
up over
She
She
Feels
Feels Pretty,
Pretty.
which I thought
Dynamic pricing rallied
was
in the
super
third and
impressive.
trailing
I mean,
Choicia
Flavian
in the
Pratt.
Duncan
What else
Diana.
can you say about this guy? That was a really incredible effort. Um, not sure She Feels Pretty lost anything in defeat. Um, I just think Excellent Truth just did not did not want to lose. Um, Maybe the eighth of a mile got to um, got to She Feels Pretty a little bit. Right? It wasn't the last couple of races that she's run at a mile. I'm just looking really quick. Sorry, this is really bad TV. Oh no, no, I'm wrong. No, I think she just got beat on the square. That was it. Excellent Truth was just a better horse yesterday and wanted it a little bit more, and that was it. Like I said, Chad Brown, 10 Diana Stakes wins now, I think 9 in a row. Uh, he just every year just has multiple horses in this race, and and they win, and they win. So, uh, congrats to Chad. Funny enough, he wins so much at Saratoga. I'm in this little jockey and trainer sort of like game, fantasy pool, I guess you'd call it for Saratoga. And you pick jockeys and trainers, and for each win they get, you get a point. And Chad wins so much that they took him off the list this year. You couldn't even you couldn't even choose him because everybody chose him, and it just got to be a little bit unfair because he won so much. So I thought that was a little funny. Anyway, we'll take a quick time out. I got a couple more Saratoga thoughts when we return. Stick around. Go. All right, welcome back into Sunday morning coffee on Past the Wire TV. Big Race Gym. We're brought to you by Shorebet Coffee, AmWager, Pleasant Acre Stallions. Um, you know, I used to live 15 minutes from Saratoga Racetrack and was there multiple times a week, and it was great. I grew up going there. The first Travers I remember is Thunder Gulch in '95 when I was um, 7, 8 years old, and um, going just about every single summer for the better part of my life. And it's just kind of changed over the years. And I'm not talking about like I don't mind the 1863 club. I don't mind that treehouse thing in the paddock bar. Like I like all that stuff. I think that stuff is cool. Um, but maybe the mentality of the guest has changed. Maybe there's too much racing at Saratoga. Maybe the horses racing most often at Saratoga just aren't very good. Um, the game has certainly changed in the last 30 years, and the wagering's dropped off, the horses have dropped off, the number of people seemingly going to Saratoga has dropped off, at least through this first weekend. And I think it's a variety of different things, um, many of which I just mentioned. But I think first and foremost, to me, in my opinion, is they've cooked this golden goose, right? The Belmont Stakes is up there, 4th of July is up there. You got the regular meet, which has expanded, and maybe too much of a good thing is starting to become a bad thing. And I touched on this a few weeks ago when there was a horse racing personality on Twitter basically saying that they didn't care how many people showed up on track because everybody's betting from home anyway, and handle was up. Well, handle's been down, way down, this first opening weekend of the traditional Saratoga meet. And I'm sure you could point at a couple of things for that. Four horse stakes races, been plenty of rain up there. But why is that always like the default, right? Like why do they blame the rain? Why do they blame the rain? And I was thinking about this over the weekend because, it rained whatever, Thursday into Friday. They took a couple of races off the turf Friday. Then it rained yesterday morning up there, and they took a couple of races off the turf there. And, a bunch of horses scratched out. Well, like, why are we're always blaming the rain. And yeah, it's low hanging fruit, right? The rain, blaming the rain is low hanging fruit. Mother Nature can't control it. Yeah, you can kind of, right? Like, wasn't it yesterday where was it yesterday where four of the final five races were supposed to be on the turf, right? NYRA's so worried about the rain that they moved the Troy Stakes a day, from the Whitney card on that Saturday to the Sunday, citing, well, what if it rains? Which still does not make any sense to me. So you're so worried about the rain that you move a race over a month ahead of time, but then you card a late pick five with four turf races. I don't know. Like, those two things just don't reconcile for me. And NYRA and horse racing in general has the ability to be creative. We've seen it. We've seen it, right? A couple years ago when they kept screwing the betters over with the rain and pulling races off the turf in the middle of a sequence. Like, how do we not like know what the weather's the weather's gonna be like? Anyway, um, and then they were able to like seed pick five the next day or the following weekend with like $100,000. Like, they have the ability to be creative. And I'm just not sure like why they're deciding not to be more often more often than not. And it's getting to be a little bit frustrating when you have your social media team tweet out in the morning on the turf, and then it rains, and then they're like, well, actually not. Like, do we not have the ability to like look at the weather and like look at the radar? And yeah, of course, a lot of this stuff can come out of nowhere, be a little bit unpredictable. Like, I get it, but just seems like they're not even trying sometimes. And that gets to be a little bit frustrating. Um, so I would say a little bit of an annoying first couple of days at Saratoga. Wagering's way down. Um, and they'll blame the weather. And maybe it is. Maybe it is just the weather's fault, but they've shown the ability to be creative in the past, and I would like to see horse racing in general be creative more often than not, because the weather, you know, the weather's always gonna throw a wrench into things, but we got to find ways to work with it, work around it, kind of protect the players from it, protect the horses from it. Um, and it just seems like everybody just kind of throws their hands up. I don't know what the answer is. I don't. I really don't know what the answer is. Um, but that's uh, that's for the people who get paid to think of those things. Um, what do we got on tap here at Saratoga today? Let's see. Let's see if we can find oh, we got the quick call. I always like this race. These 5.5 for a long term sprint. Let's see. Let's take a look. Mm, I'll have to look at it a little closer. Mm. I don't know, Equibase, looking at Equibase gives Governor Sam and interesting. Likes this Ortley Avenue at 10-1. That's according to Equibase. Anyway, we'll leave it right there. A good couple of weeks away for me. Now I'm back, a little rusty. Not my best show, I'll admit, but we'll get better as we keep going through the Saratoga meet. Whitney weekend's only a couple weekends away. And we'll see what continues to happen with the wagering. Handles down about 20% over the first couple days. And we'll see. We'll see how things continue to go. But I appreciate you watching Sunday Morning Coffee on Past the Wire TV. I'm Big Race Jim. Shout out Shorebet Coffee, AmWager, Pleasant Acres, and we'll see you guys next week. Go.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final for sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.